She missed her train that morning. What happened instead changed her life forever. The morning began like any other, with the rush of footsteps echoing across the platform, the screech of brakes as the 7:30 train pulled away, and the lingering chill of early spring air in New York City. Emily Parker stood on the platform, her breath forming clouds in the cool morning, heart sinking as the taillights of the train disappeared down the tracks. She was 26, practical, and always on time, but today, her alarm had betrayed her. One missed train meant arriving late to the publishing firm where she worked as an assistant, a place where her boss valued punctuality as much as talent. She pressed a hand to her forehead, frustrated. "Great," she muttered. "Just perfect." As she turned to check the schedule for the next train, she noticed a man sitting alone on a nearby bench. His suit was neat, but his tie loosened, his briefcase resting at his feet. He looked about 30, with dark hair and a sharp jawline, yet his posture was slouched, his gaze fixed somewhere far away. For reasons she couldn't explain, her eyes lingered on him. He seemed lost in thought, disconnected from the world rushing around him. Emily shook herself. She didn't have time to worry about strangers. She glanced at the clock. Next train in 25 minutes. Annoyed but resigned, she headed to the coffee cart near the station entrance. When she returned with a steaming cup, the man was still there. This time, their eyes met. He gave a faint smile, polite but distant. "Missed yours too?" she asked, surprising herself. He nodded once. "Yeah. Though maybe it's not such a bad thing." She tilted her head. "Why's that?" He paused, then shrugged. "Sometimes being late keeps you from being in the wrong place." The way he said it gave her pause, like he knew something she didn't. Before she could reply, a sudden commotion erupted near the station. People gathered, murmuring, some gasping. Emily stood, craning her neck. An officer shouted for calm as a stretcher was rushed through. Whispers spread quickly. An accident on the 7:30 train. Derailment just past the bridge. Emily's chest tightened, her fingers trembling as she clutched her coffee. That was her train, the one she had missed by 3 minutes. She looked at the man on the bench, her heart pounding. He met her gaze again, and this time his faint smile carried something else, an unsettling calm. "See," he said quietly, "not such a bad thing." Her mind spun. Questions piled up, but the announcement system cut through the chaos, urging passengers to wait for further instructions. She sat back down, shaken. The man adjusted his tie, finally straightening his posture. "I'm Daniel," he said. "Emily," she replied, her voice barely steady. "Well, Emily," he said, "looks like our day just changed." Her hands gripped the bench, the reality sinking in. Missing her train hadn't been an inconvenience. It had saved her life. But she had no idea it was only the beginning. The station remained crowded as more news trickled in. The accident was worse than expected. Injuries, delays, chaos across the line. Commuters whispered in shock, scrolling their phones for updates. Emily couldn't stop thinking about it. The thin line between being on that train and sitting here instead. Daniel seemed unnervingly composed, sipping water from a bottle he pulled from his briefcase. "You're calm," she said, her voice edged with disbelief. "Panicking doesn't help," he replied. "Besides, I've seen worse." She frowned. "Worse?" He didn't elaborate, only glanced toward the exit. They boarded the next train together, 40 minutes later. Emily couldn't shake the pull to sit near him. Something about Daniel felt magnetic, unsettling, yet safe at the same time. They talked quietly as the train rattled along the tracks. He was in finance, he said, though he didn't seem eager to discuss details. She told him about her publishing job, her dreams of editing novels one day. He listened more than he spoke, his dark eyes unreadable but attentive. When the train stopped abruptly at a red signal, Emily's phone buzzed. A message from her boss. Work from home today. Office closed due to the chaos. She exhaled with relief. Good news? Daniel asked. Day off, she said. Unexpected miracle. He smiled faintly. Funny how life rearranges itself. As they pulled into the city, they walked out together. Emily hesitated, unsure if this was where their paths ended, but Daniel surprised her. Coffee? Since our morning's already upside down. She hesitated for a beat, then nodded. In a small cafe tucked away from the noise, they sat by the window. Daniel finally loosened enough to talk about his past. He had grown up moving from city to city, no real roots. He carried himself like a man who had seen too much, but beneath it, there was kindness in the way he asked about her family, her childhood. For hours, conversation flowed. Emily couldn't believe she was sitting across from a stranger she'd met only because she missed her train. Yet it felt natural, like something that was supposed to happen. But as the afternoon light shifted, Daniel checked his watch. His demeanor changed, tense. I should go, he said abruptly, standing. Already? She asked. He nodded, avoiding her eyes. It was nice meeting you, Emily. Maybe we'll cross paths again. Before she could answer, he slipped out of the cafe and disappeared into the crowd. Emily sat there, staring at the empty seat across from her. A part of her felt like she had just lost something important, something she didn't understand yet. She gathered her things and left, the memory of his words echoing. Sometimes being late keeps you from being in the wrong place. That night, she turned on the news. Details of the train crash dominated every channel. But then another story appeared. One involving a man in finance under investigation for exposing corruption within his firm. The camera flashed a blurry photo. Emily's stomach dropped. It looked like Daniel. Sleep escaped her that night. Emily replayed the day again and again. The train she'd missed. The quiet way Daniel had spoken. The sudden urgency in his departure. Was he the same man the news hinted at? The next morning, she couldn't resist. She went back to the station at the same time, hoping. To her shock, Daniel was there, leaning against a pillar, his briefcase at his feet. You came back, she said softly. He gave a tired smile. So did you. They walked together, silence thick between them, until finally she asked, Was that you on the news? His jaw tightened. Depends what they said. About exposing corruption, she whispered. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he sighed. Yeah, that was me. Her heart pounded. So why talk to me yesterday? He hesitated. Because sometimes you need someone to remind you what normal feels like. She didn't know how to respond. They walked to the cafe again, but this time his shoulders were tense, his eyes scanning every corner. You're in danger, aren't you? She asked quietly. He didn't answer right away, then said, I didn't plan for you to be part of this. But maybe missing that train wasn't an accident for either of us. The words chilled her. Yet there was something undeniable. A connection, a thread pulling them together. Later, as they left the cafe, two men in dark suits entered. Daniel stiffened. We need to go. He guided her through a side alley, their footsteps quick. Her pulse raced as questions tangled in her mind. They reached a quieter street. Daniel turned to her. Emily, listen, you don't have to get involved. But if you do, there's no going back. She stared at him, fear and curiosity warring inside. Then tell me the truth. His eyes softened. The truth is, I uncovered something that powerful people don't want seen, and now I'm running. But yesterday reminded me what I'm running for. The weight of his words sank deep. She had missed her train, but maybe she hadn't missed her purpose. The days that followed blurred into a whirlwind. Emily found herself drawn further into Daniel's world, one she never imagined. Late-night meetings in quiet cafes, whispered conversations about files, documents, evidence he needed to get into the right hands. She should have walked away, but every time she looked at him, she remembered the train crash and how easily her life could have ended. Maybe fate had rerouted her for a reason. Together, they pieced through the evidence. Daniel explained how his firm had hidden losses, manipulated markets, ruined lives. He had gathered proof, but exposing it made him a target. Emily's publishing skills, once mundane, became vital. She helped him organize, document, craft the story in a way that couldn't be dismissed. Nights stretched long as they worked side by side, shadows growing deeper around them. Yet, amid the danger, moments of warmth bloomed. Small smiles over coffee, laughter breaking through tension, the quiet comfort of knowing neither was alone anymore. Then, one evening, as they prepared to deliver the final documents to a trusted contact, they were cornered near the station, the same place where it all began. Dark-suited men blocked the exits. Daniel gripped her hand. "Stay behind me," he whispered. But Emily shook her head. "We finish this together." With quick thinking, she slipped the envelope of evidence into her bag and darted through the crowd, weaving between startled commuters. The men chased, but Daniel blocked their path long enough for her to escape. Heart pounding, she reached the cafe where their contact waited. She handed over the documents, voice trembling. "Make sure the truth gets out." By the time she returned, police lights painted the station blue. The men were gone, and Daniel stood bruised but standing. When he saw her, relief washed over his face. "You did it," he said softly. "We did," she replied. Weeks later, the scandal broke wide open. Executives arrested, justice in motion. Daniel was safe, though changed. Emily, too, had changed. She wasn't just the girl who missed her train anymore. She was the woman who had stepped into the story fate had written for her. On a quiet morning, she and Daniel sat once again on the station bench where it began. Trains came and went. People rushed past. "Funny," she said with a smile. "Missing one train gave me a whole new life." Daniel looked at her, eyes warm. "Sometimes the detour is the destination." She laughed softly, leaning against him. And for the first time, she knew missing that train wasn't bad luck. It was the best thing that had ever happened to her. Because it hadn't just changed her morning, it had changed everything. She thought missing her train was a mistake, until it became the moment that rewrote her entire life. Sometimes the detours we hate lead us exactly where we're meant to be.